All right, we are live, and welcome Susie and welcome Pam. And we're going to go ahead and get started. We're waiting on Nate from Nate Snakes, and I haven't heard that he's not coming, and he does have the link, so I'll keep an eye out for him. He could be caught in traffic or something. Um, so let me see who's in here real quick and say hello. There's Lucky Stone, and we learned recently that that was a cat's name, that his channel is named after a cat, Lucky Stone. Cool. There's June, there's Paul, there's Craig's, and that's everybody. Now there's Huawei, got the links already.
Oh yeah.
That gives me an idea. I wonder if I should name my channel after my cat.
What's your
I
cat's
don't know.
name?
I don't know if YouTube would go for a channel named Asshole or not.
I had a cat named Putana.
Madonna?
Putana. I think it means like whore. I used to call her my Putana bitch.
Ah, what language is that?
Italian and something else. But yeah, it was in the early 80s. I had her for 18 years.
There's Mike in the chat.
Hey, Mike.
Is Mike supposed to come up? Is he coming up?
I hope so. He's got the link. He's got the link. I saw he saw it.
Big Steve.
Big Steve, yeah. Howdy, howdy.
Paul, how are you feeling? I know you were sick.
Who, Steve or Mike?
Paul.
Oh, yeah, Paul was sick too.
Yeah, so many people are getting, I guess it's that change of weather. Now it's getting to be like winter.
Yeah.
And here I am in a tank top because this fish room is like 80 degrees.
I bet the humidity's up in there. Do you use a dehumidifier?
I do not.
Oh, wow.
Probably should.
Yeah. I've got two that I run most of the time, and I still get humidity, damage and stuff from it. It's crazy.
Wow. What kind of damage?
Like black spots up in the ceiling on the corner. There's one over there by my fireplace that I paint over every year. There's one in my kitchen. I had 11 tanks in there, but I'm down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's not as bad, but I got the link, but don't got the equipment.
Okay.
I see. All right. Well, you can be with us in here at least. So anyway, like I said, anybody new coming in, we're waiting on Nate from Nate's Snakes, and unless it's confusion about the time or something, am really looking forward to him coming on.
So did anybody get any new reptiles?
Susie, I just told you I just got one.
That's so freaking cool.
I went by to get some crickets at the pet store, and it's the place that I get my reptile stuff, not so much fish. And he had his big Black Friday sale going, so I got a snake that he had marked $100 off of. It's a firefly. Michael know what that is. And she's gorgeous. She's a year old and sweet, really sweet snake.
Wow.
Yeah, I love snakes that you can just hold them and they're not going to bite you, and they're just so calm.
I don't know that. I don't know that feeling at all.
I thought you had, when you did like that, I thought you had a little squirrel or something up there at your hair, though.
It's my hair. And sometimes it freaks me out when I feel it and don't realize it's my hair. You'll hear me screaming. My granddaughter got such a kick out of that. She goes, Grammy, that was your hair. I was like, okay.
Your hair's getting long. It seems. Did you get any reptiles?
No, I did not. But I did spend all of Thanksgiving morning giving all my reptiles this huge feast of green hardworms, dubia roaches, super worms, mealworms. I just gave them a whole bunch of everything.
Nice.
Yeah. And water. I give them water all the time, but this was like the bearded dragons got their soak. They all got like that extra water day, not just here's your water. And yes, that's how I do it too. Like, here's your water. Next.
Set them up at the bar, right?
Yeah.
I've got to give this new little ball python a soak. She just shed. It's not bad. You can rub her and it comes off, but she'll probably feel better to soak for a few minutes.
June did it right. She ignored all her pets yesterday.
There you go.
Got to have a day off, right?
Now that I've gotten accustomed or not, don't feel so bad, I can bear to give some of the live mice, because I have hundreds of them now, to snakes that will only eat the live. And this one, it supposedly only eats live, but I'll try to get her switched over after this feeding tonight. But that's what I did yesterday. Anytime a male chased a little female and made them scream, I don't like those big males. They run around with their kahunas and the big long tail sticking out and chasing all the little teenage mice girls. So when I see that going, I'm whoops, and his hand comes down, and there's a door in the top of each of my cages, and I get them and take them in, and they contribute to the well-being of the snakes.
Oh.
I only need really one mouse, I guess, one male to each colony, so I won't run out anytime soon.
Nano Aquarium guys here.
Hey, welcome, welcome. I was depressed about my 38th anniversary.
Oh,
Oh,
I'm sorry, June.
is it wedding anniversary or?
No. Well, it's not my channel, so I can say it. I was depressed because I had Thanksgiving and my ex-husband was there. I wasn't depressed. I suck it up. Suck it up, Buttercup.
Oh, so like you got together with your kids and he came because of the dad
And then John Bag of Donuts was talking to him, and they couldn't be any more polar opposite if you tried.
really?
I'm like, oh boy, here we go. Here we go.
Has John met him before?
Oh yeah, he even when I had Thanksgiving at my house, I invited the guy over because he doesn't have any friends. So, and we have the same children. It just seemed right.
Huh. I was depressed about my anniversary. Yes, wedding. I read that, didn't I?
Oh, okay, wedding anniversary.
Pam has, I think it's a Thanksgiving story. Or I'm not sure, or it might just be a dinner story.
Do you, Pam?
I've got all kinds of Thanksgiving.
I'm thinking about the guy that came over and, well, I don't want to tell the story.
Hey, Craig.
Greg was one of the first, if not the first ones in here.
Oh, was he?
Yep. Yep.
Look at that. Yes, he's going live a lot lately.
He has been going live a lot. And I was just saying when I did that little stream, Pam, I went last night for like an hour. I was going to just go a few minutes.
Oh, I totally missed it because I was busy.
Yeah, I know you got busy and didn't have time to go then. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go because I was prepared to go. And I didn't mean to go an hour, but I did. But then I got up and used what would have been the second hour on your stream to get a lot of things done. And I was surprised at how much work I got done at 12:30 at night.
I got nothing done at 12:30 at night except for snoring.
I'm thinking it's probably time for me to get my medicines in and get ready for bed. And
Wow.
it had only been half an hour, so I was like, yay. I cleaned a bunch of my habitats and moved some snakes and stuff, and just really got a lot.
I have an issue with a couple of my enclosures that I need to try to figure out what to do. I made the sliding glass door right on, the edge of the enclosure, and it's only got a small lip, so there's not enough lip so that I can put straight down to make it really active. I'm trying to figure out what can I put down that won't like rot away or like. I was trying to I don't know if they sell PVC strips, but then how do I attach that? Good. I don't know how to resolve this issue, and it's with all 14 of my enclosures. I'm like,
The cabinet behind me with the stand, I guess, but it's a cabinet. I had it custom made. A friend made it. Did an awesome job on it. It's for the 180, but it's got built-in cabinets, 2 different ones that could be reptile or whatever underneath. But I was in such a rush for it. He's got the tracks and stuff in it, but never got the the glass in them. So I just let the cats go in there and sleep.
How much space do you have from the ground up to the bottom of the track?
Maybe 2.5 or 3 inches.
Oh my God, that's what I'm looking for. Then I thought it might take up a lot of space, but if I just lay a 2x4 down and like put in like 2 little screws, the
Yeah.
2x4 is really like 1.5 inches high, right? That would be enough room, right?
This is just attached to the top of like the molding he put across the front of it, the cabinet. I would show you, but it's dusty and cat hair down there. I know you never see anything like that.
My whole living room is covered in dog dander.
I don't know if you can see it or not. There's also a piece of an intake pipe down there.
So that's like 2 inches down to the bottom of it.
Yeah, 2 or 3.
Wow. That's what I should have done. I
gotta
don't think I thought it through well enough.
I got to be careful. I had a reels or a short or something. I don't even remember what it was now. It was just some stupid snake video or something that got taken down for nudity. And I think that's the one that I was thinking that, oh my gosh, did I flash in my underwear in there? So it must have been. So I peeled it and I said it was just snake eggs is all I was showing. There was no nudity.
Wait, your YouTube can get taken down for nudity?
It
I
was,
get pictures of half naked girls. Click on this. Click on that.
Oh, I know. Somebody posted something on Tennessee Fish Mafia Facebook. Several of them, like 5 or 6 of them, had to take down. There's probably some on there now because I haven't looked this evening. Of like people actually having sex. You click on the link and it opens up and it's porno. So of course I banned the person and the channel that sent it and all that. But
wow,
who's the head? Pam, cut it out. That's not funny.
that's crazy.
Well, I don't see Nate.
There was, one person in. Oh, I shouldn't even repeat the story. Never mind.
Sounds like it's going to be good, though.
Yeah, I hate that when people do that. And
Let's start a story.
I'll tell you later, right?
Oh, she didn't say she was going to tell you later.
I know, but she will because I know where she lives and all that. I'm trying to think.
Fish
Okay.
nudity, right, June? I had a video called Fish Porn. I called it porn, and I think that it was like 1970s porn music I put to it. And it was my 2 paradise fish, like wrapping themselves around, and the female drifts into this orgasmic coma while she drops her eggs. I thought it was pretty pornographic, but nobody took it down. I was like, dang, I can't believe I got that on video. Like, what? These fish know how to do it. Dang.
The one that I had, like when I first started doing live streams, they're just like the ones I do now, random, unedited, can't hear them, can't see them, cameras on, they're just like I do. But it was me and my boxers, and Pam or somebody noticed the reflection, and it talks about it all in there and in the comments, but it's still up. That's been
That's funny.
I guess nobody's worried about long boxers.
Probably not.
Silver Creek's wildlife. Wow, I came in right at the right time, just in time to hear about the pornographic episode with fish. Well, it was actually
pornographic episode.
It was actually with a snake and snake eggs, but I want to do a video on racist fish. Racist fish.
Rice fish?
No, racist. My son said, don't do it. Well, now, is there such a thing? That wouldn't surprise me, but
No, it sounds kind of clickbaity.
yeah,
I might have to follow your lead.
June wouldn't do anything like that. So now, Tommy, is this your main channel? Have you changed to wildlife? Because I don't get out much. So Silver Creek Wildlife.
Oh, I wish I had pizza for lunch or dinner. We're
Friday.
about to start eating healthy again in a couple days, so I feel like I'm panic struck and have to eat bad food right now. Like I got to binge or something. Oh my gosh, I gotta start eating healthy.
Fish do favor their own kind. That's true. June, you'll probably get a lot of suckers.
Well, actually, many fish do not like their own kind. They're the only ones that they only attack their own kind. Other fish they're good with.
Yeah.
That would be an interesting video to do, actually. You think about it. Some fish, you're right, only like their own kind. Other fish like anything but their own kind.
It's surprising sometimes, like to see I like those videos that show the project, what is it called in South America, the river project?
Amazon?
No. The name of the project, oh, yeah,
Diablo?
whatever. Starts with a P, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, Diablo.
Yeah. But if you watch some of those videos, they're on Facebook, I guess is where I see them from time to time. The fish that are in there, the other fish they're mixed in with, it's kind of strange, and they're all getting along, but you would never think about keeping them together like that. So,
Wow.
it's interesting. The June Act. I overfilled my rack.
Piaba. That's it, Piaba.
Piaba. Yeah.
Hey,
Thanksgiving number 3. Jeez.
Keefer's in the house.
Oh, don't blame me now, June. I mean, that's a great idea. Hey, Keith. I'm just now catching up to where you all are. Is Belle okay? I hope everything went well today.
I'm going to sit here and clean the glasser because it's driving me crazy.
I should be up doing a water change or something, you know it. I'm just going to look. If I go out, I'll be right back. But I'm just going to look and see, make sure that I go to the right time.
Oops. I shouldn't be touching anything during the live stream. Oh, tackle. All right.
Let's
Here
see.
we go. Sorry.
Here's the link for Friday evening. Thanks, Nate. We didn't actually talk about the time this last time. Uh-oh.
Hey, just an FYI, KGE Aquatics is having a sale until 11/28. The coupon code is on their website homepage.
All right.
Yeah, man. It's not like I'm going there right now.
Right.
I
Hey,
would do
Pam,
that during a live stream.
the plants that I got from you, was that dwarf sage?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to be sharing some of that around, and I wanted to make sure I knew what I was calling it. It really is good ground cover. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
think-
It spreads and it works out really good. The more light it has, the shorter it is. And the less light, it gets taller.
It's filled up a couple of my beta bowls. The bottom of them, it's so thick in there you can't see the gravel, and all that was in there is just gravel, just straight gravel, and it filled all
Yeah,
that up.
it's a good grower.
But
Oh
yeah,
my goodness. It's 9 degrees now, guys.
Oh my gosh.
And it's only 5:30. It's gonna get a lot colder.
Well, it's 8 o'clock here, so
We had a high of 13 degrees today.
Oh,
That
wow.
was our high. The high temperature, 13 degrees.
Oh my.
I'm kind of worried because we didn't talk about the time, but the other times he's been on, we did talk about it. So I don't know what the confusion is. It's probably something I did. It usually is, right?
Huh, it won't open the website for me.
Uh-oh. 27 in upstate New York. It was in the 50s here today, but it's going to get in the 20s over the weekend. I brought my big ficus tree off the arc porch. I brought it into the living room, and it's huge. I didn't realize it'd grown so big. I'm going to have to cut some of the limbs off and put it back in the office. Mike says 17 tonight and 47 inches
Oh my
of snow.
gosh.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
supposed to get snow too. But we were supposed to get some this morning, but we didn't. It just got cold.
I wish
Like
we would
really
get
cold.
snow
But we're
here.
supposed to get some during the night too, I think.
We never get snow here anymore. I miss it. Well.
I don't want to get snow, so I can't say we don't ever get it. I don't want to get it. Not a fan.
See, we used to do sledding and have snowsuits and the icicles hanging off the house, and it would take days for it to melt. And now, if we get just a dusting, it's gone by mid-morning.
We're supposed to get snow in the morning
Oh,
until early afternoon here.
Well, guys, what do you think? We should give him a few more minutes. But I have
And
a
it's supposed
feeling.
to get down to 5 degrees tonight.
Jesus.
I gotta look at my weather. How do I not know my own weather? Well, 36 here. Sorry, Pam. But this is so ridiculous. It says, but it feels like it's 35. Like,
Oh,
really? Really? Like, why would
You know the difference. Well, that's reassuring, right? Oh,
we had 13 degrees for a high, and with 25-mile-an-hour winds. I didn't even want to see what it felt like because it was freaking cold. That's what it felt like.
Oh, wow. By 7 o'clock in the morning, it will be below freezing. It'll be 28.
I wish we don't even. I think tomorrow's going to be a high of 22. They're saying so.
Susie, I was thinking about this really not on here and not to put you on the spot, but that seems to work a lot with with people. We need to have you be the guest sometimes and give us a tour of your reptiles.
That would be fun.
We've never had that.
I think I have my internet that would go in there. And if I set my laptop up in the middle, I could grab, because this is a camera. I was going to show you how far it goes, but you can't still see how far it goes. No, that's so smart am I. I would probably be able to maybe not see it close up like you get, but how do you use your phone? How do you use your phone on the live stream?
That's all I'm using. It's just sitting on a little tripod in front of me,
Wow.
and it's just my smartphone.
Okay.
I have a new computer, but it's like 3 or 4 months old, but I've never used it for anything really.
See, I've only used my phone to go live maybe 3 times, and I don't think I know how to do it. It's a very different process.
I would show you, but there's no way to show you. Well, there's got to be a mirror somewhere. I take all the mirrors out of here. You get to a certain age, but I'm just on here's.
But yeah, I would do that. That would be fun.
Get a light on. See, that's all. Oops, almost went over there in my underwear. That's all I'm doing. You see that?
Oh, okay, yeah. I do see that. Oh, you're wearing a Fish Mafia shirt. I see that too now.
Well, God, what all can y'all see? I didn't think you could see me.
I see you right there.
All right, I better get out of there. I've got on Christmas print like red plaid underwear.
Oh, you're funny. Now, we
Yep.
couldn't see anything below the waist.
All right.
You're safe.
Yep. Opened a new package of underwear. Took the red ones out. Yep. Oh wait. And I got millions of mice running around here. This is my project this evening: is to clean mice habitats.
Oh my God, how many mice do you have now?
Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. I just gave them a snack of some. I found out they really like seed that I had bought some on sale, a couple of things. It was buy one, get anyway.
What?
Floyd doesn't really care for that, so they love it. They love the seed. And so I just put like a little flower pot saucer in there and they come up and
And
eat
the thing,
that.
Olive started with one mouse,
But this is what they really eat is the
one
biscuits.
pregnant mouse.
Yeah. So I've got 2 colonies, and the bottoms of these are full of mice, mamas, and babies. And see how they're all huddled? I don't know if you can see in the corners. Those drawers are what I really need to pull out. See, there's probably
Okay, Willard keeps coming to mind here, Bob. Willard.
Yeah.
Have you seen Willard?
I am feeding them to the snakes now. The snakes that will
Okay.
eat.
So
Once.
through attrition, that hopefully that'll go. But they propagate like magic faster.
They are going faster, so I probably will sell some back to him in the store. He's been telling me he'd give me $1.50, and today he told me when I bought this snake for $150 from him on sale that he would give me $2 a mouse. I'm thinking, if I'd given him 300 mice, I'd be breaking even.
I have
No.
one Fish Mafia shirt,
150.
but I think I can make one. I think I have the skill set because Fish Mafia is one color vinyl. I can do.
Oh,
I'm
it could be a fish.
Drinking coffee out of my Reptales cup today.
Oh, nice. Nicely we progress.
Keith, is it a black one? He
My
tells
cut?
me-
No, it's a white one.
No, I said Keith. Is it a black one?
Oh, okay.
The shirt. Ed tells me this is the only one in this color. I don't know how I ended up with it if it is. I think I just saw it and said, "Oh, I want that shirt."
I like it. I like that color.
I like it too.
My
Hey,
local
buddy.
store is selling T-shirts, green, red, yellow, and black now.
Green, red,
Red,
yellow.
yellow, and black, so I can make shirts in those colors. But I would only wear black, or something dark like what you're wearing. I don't think I would wear yellow T-shirt.
I'm tired of. Well, you know what? I got one of 2 of those that are kind of. I don't know what color I'd call them, Pam. The ones that Sarah, Scunch Princess. I got a couple of her shirts. They were on sale for $15, and I got a couple of her art designs on them, and I love that color. It's kind of a yellow, but I don't know.
Oh,
There's
cuteness
baby worm.
overload.
Baby worm, where you been? She's pouting because she got yelled at, kinda.
Yeah, I have a black Tennessee Fish Mafia shirt. I like it. I like it because it's big and it's comfy. You know which one I really like? Not that I like wearing Rico's face on my shirt, but it's the right size. It just is perfect. It covers everything, and I could slop around the house in it. I like it.
I love having a shirt that fits, well, and it's like
Yep.
your favorite pair of shoes, I was thinking about that tonight. I always come home and get out of my pants.
Look what I found at the thrift store in my size.
Wow.
$2 for these moccasins. I'm like, I'm in heaven.
Yes.
I can go out and take care of the duck with these on.
But why do we wait till we get home to put on like our comfortable shoes?
I know. Why don't you wear them all day?
I know. I started thinking that because I don't care. Y'all know I don't care about fashion. And I'm at the Arts, the only place I go, or shopping, or grocery shopping. Bunny, my wife, hey, Red Laser, Jennifer should be out of the hospital on Sunday to get more made.
More what made? Oh, T-shirts. Yeah. Are you going to NEC, Keith? This is going to be my first year. I have a room reserved, but I got to find like 2 or 3 roommates if I'm going to be able to go. So I'm looking for roommates that want to go to Connecticut.
What is NEC?
It's Northeast.
Northeast. Cichlid?
I don't think it's Cichlid. Maybe Keith knows. I don't know what the NEC stands for.
Oh, it's that word I can't say. It's got like tetras and.
Oh, Snipperids. Now, maybe it is Cichlid. It's Northeast. I don't know.
What is that word? It's a big long word, and it's got fish in it. That there's some cool fish in it. Let's see.
Northeast Council of Aquarium Clubs.
We were close.
Not even close.
Oh my
Northeast Council.
Hey,
Now, I
George.
got to be really careful going back to Connecticut. Because when I graduated high school, I was 17. I moved to Connecticut because the drinking age was 18. And I did some of my worst drinking between the ages of 18 and 22. And then before I moved back to Pennsylvania.
You didn't waste any time, did you?
I did a lot of damage in those years.
What, you got warrants out or something?
And it used to be, the NEC used to be in Rocky Hill, and that's where I've been. I remember the police pulled me over one time, and I had to be a pedestrian for 5 years, and they took my car, and I don't remember what really happened. Maybe that's why they took my car. Don't know. It was bad. I was really, really bad. That was the worst of it, because I didn't have kids yet. And I guess I just was just.
Yeah, when I was young, I grew up in Oregon, but Idaho, the drinking age was 18 in Idaho, and I had more than one night. I crossed the border and hit all the bars in Idaho.
Yep. I just remember in Connecticut, it was my birthday, my 21st birthday, and the Phillies won the World Series. So if that tells you how long ago it was.
I remember that.
Many, many decades ago.
Yeah.
And somebody lined me up with 21 shots of Jack Daniels.
Oh,
I
my.
don't remember what happened after about 6 or 7. I don't know if I drank them all or didn't, but it was not good.
Oh.
You know, you never heard about people dying from alcohol poisoning doing
Oh,
this,
yeah.
but I'm sure they did.
They absolutely did. And
Yeah, there was a couple kids in my school that did.
yeah.
George said, "Where are the snakes?" Here's one.
Yeah, I remember a night going into Idaho when I was like, I think I was like 19. And me and my girlfriend decided that we were going to get one drink at every bar in town. But you know what happens when single girls walk into a bar and sit down? You instantly have like 8 or 9 drinks sitting in front of you.
Yeah.
And my biggest mistake was I decided that the one drink that I was going to get in every bar in town was a Singapore Sling.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Not good. It was
No.
not good.
Oh, my God, no.
I had to be carried out to my car, and my girlfriend had to drive us home. And she'd never driven a stick shift before, so every once in a while she would like push on me and ask me how to shift.
Aqua Balls is asking about where's Nate.
We would like to know that too, George. We don't know. I'm thinking it's probably a time screw up or something, but because we didn't talk about time, but the other couple of times, few times he's been on, he knew the time. So, but I look back at our notes and where I sent him the link, and I said yesterday, I said, here's the link for tomorrow evening or tomorrow night or whatever. And he said, thanks, sir. Happy Thanksgiving.
And what time frame does he live in? Where does he live?
Washington State.
Oh, that's like 3 hours behind us, right? Me.
Yeah, so he has to get off work early and drive home and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like right now, it's only 11 after 5 there right
Yeah.
now. So
George got a new snake rack. He could show
nice.
us.
Okay. Pam will be so kind as to throw the link in there for you.
Yep,
That
give
would
me
be cool.
just
I want to see this.
just
snake
one
rack.
moment because I've got to open up the
Now,
YouTube.
are snake racks like all the same? I think of it like a bakery rack. Like, you know how you have the
I'll be right there, George.
time to make the donuts and it's just a big rack with slide. Is that what all racks are? Or are they all different sizes?
There are different sizes, different depths, and different widths. And there are some. The newer ones are bigger, and they're like a file drawer that pulls out, and they have glass or plexiglass on the front. Because one of the criticisms of them has been that they're so dark in there. There's no lighting.
Right.
Anyway,
What people criticize whatever they can, don't they?
yeah, oh yeah, everybody's an expert. There's the link, George. I'm watching for you. Thanks, Pam.
Woohoo!
Last night,
And the man.
Pam, people were hoping you'd pop in the stream, and that was so you could throw the link up there
Oh,
if your ears were burning. Skipper and Huawei, and I can't remember who all were trying to figure it out, and I couldn't, of course. Worm, give us a break. Go sit down. There he is. There's somebody.
Is he in?
It's George.
And you're going to make him big, right?
I am.
Hello, everybody.
Yo, George, what's up?
How's it going? Well, like I said, I got a big snake rack. Actually, it's for my juveniles. Let me just show them to you. I got stuff on top. I've been moving stuff around here.
Did you hear Susie's question about racks, if they were all the same, basically, or?
No, absolutely not. They're actually, I'll show you the difference that the one I have and this one. They're kind of similar, but they all carry the same concept of having a heat in the back and a bowl in front, water bowl. So let me show you real quick.
Here we go. We were just talking about your T-shirt with your face on it.
See that? And he popped up.
Sure. Yes.
It's like if you say his name, he shows up. Be careful.
Thanks for
Oh,
popping.
wow.
So this is the one I got right now. It's for juvenile. I got my juveniles in there.
Okay, cool.
Got the water bowl. Got the snake.
And that bowl can come out just to be wiped out or washed, and it's got a stand that holds it.
Yes. There's this one.
Beautiful.
You got them on paper towels.
Yeah, I need to change that one right now because he went bathroom. There's a Lucy.
Blue-eyed Lucy.
Love a little Lucy.
That's the Mojave right here.
And is this your new rack?
Yeah, this is the new one. So it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 levels, 6, 7 levels, and you can use the bottom too. There's space for it. Sorry, it's dark. And what it is, it's the top is all the way to the end is the screen. So what I'm thinking to do is take pieces of wood like this, cut it, and put it there. So it will give my snake some humidity in the back because I don't like the screen like that totally.
Is
And
it
look,
like that between every level, or just that one?
no, it's a screen like this all the way to every level. See? And so I'm thinking I'm putting the pieces of wood so it will make it warm in there more, because the heat in the back. It's I have it set up at right now at night at 89.
Oh, wow.
The heat. Yeah, and here's the big one. You can see how the big one right here. This one has no snake in it. I'm gonna show you really quick. I'm gonna take it out. There's no snake in there. See? So nice and clean. Waiting for the. I just want to show you really quick. So
It's a lot
see
bigger.
how this one says there's holes in the front and there's no holes in the back. It's a little dusty. There's no holes in the back. It's all solid metal in the back. Look.
So what keeps a snake from like? I guess I'm having a hard time figuring out how the snake doesn't just get out. Like
He can't because it's in here, right? And it's all closed right here. And so the snakes
they're
look.
not like
Yeah.
octopuses or like rats where they can just squeeze out of any tiny opening.
No, there is no tiny opening in there anyway. There's like the tops are not tiny. There's my clown. Boy.
Oh,
Come here, let's see you, buddy. I think this is a killer clown right here. He's all in the back getting all warmed up.
Welcome, Nate. George has given us a tour of his new rack.
you got a brand new rack.
So
Oh,
we
they all
got,
like to go underneath that paper. That's cute.
yeah, it's because it's warm and it keeps them, it's warm. The
Right.
back is the warm.
Now,
Let's
those
see what,
markings you have on that, is that dry erase markings or did you perma mark them?
oh, they're just a dry, They're kind of, you can take alcohol and wipe it down. That's
Oh,
it.
okay. But it doesn't just wipe off.
Yeah. And so what happened? I sold few snakes here, which it was a nice one here. I sold it. And the person that I sold it to, he went and sold the snakes that I sold them to.
Oh,
What was that right there, George?
This one is my pastel project with the clown. I think if that's the male, it's a 100% het clown pastel.
I
Definitely. It's,
asked because it looks a lot like my new snake I just got this evening. It's a firefly.
no, I can show you a firefly.
All right.
I have a firefly right here. Very gorgeous firefly.
Yep. Yep. That's
This is
big.
my beauty.
Mine's a girl, but smaller than that.
Oh, this is a boy right here.
Ah,
Check him out.
beautiful.
Very gorgeous. This is fire pastel yellow belly, by the way.
Yep.
It's not just a fire.
Mine is fire pastel, but not yellow belly.
Yeah, this one has a yellow belly in it. It's got 3 genes in it, and I got them on a very good deal few years back.
Nice.
I've been plugging them to this female. Let me show you. She's like really gigantic. Look at her.
oh.
No idea. Oh, look, they go both.
Look how
Oh my
big
God.
she is. Oh my.
This one is so big.
Does she
I
have
haven't got.
eggs or she's just always that big?
I don't know. Tell you the truth, she's just always fat because I got the all-you-can-eat buffet. Some of my snakes, sorry, some of them look skinny because they don't eat all the time and they are like little skinny. But some of them are really big. They're always slamming and like look at this male.
Ooh.
He's really nice and happy. Right now, they're all hungry. They want to eat. By the way.
None of your snakes jump out though. Susie was asking how they.
Yeah.
Oh no, none of them do jump out. I had one here that was jumping at me. She's gone. I sold it. There's. Oh yeah, look at this gorgeous.
They smell
This is like
nice.
5 genes right here.
Nice.
Fire, pastel, yellow belly. I think it's GHI Woma.
Oh, that's
Wow.
a pretty snake.
This is yeah. I have the male and the female version of it.
Nice.
I'll show you that one soon. Hey, if you want me to get out, if the guest you had coming up is here, let him up,
Yeah.
buddy.
Yeah, he's here, so we'll switch you back down to small screen in a minute. I wasn't in any hurry though, so
Yeah, that's a pretty This is a nice rack also, but that other one you got, I kind of like it with the screen top.
Yeah, it's all the way screen. And I got some leopard geckos, new leopard geckos right now. I have them in there. This is that Mojave that I was sending Punchy. She's still here.
I want it so bad, but now it's too cold.
Yeah,
It's like
it's so nice.
8 degrees here right now.
Oh.
She's gotten bigger a little bit.
So these are thinner bins, but longer.
Yes.
Okay.
I have another one of those too, smaller. And then look at the leopard geckos. I have them down there.
What?
There's 2.
Leopard geckos? What?
Yeah, there's 1.
it's enjoying
And
the humid bumps.
there's another one. Yeah,
Oh,
the back is
mind blown.
heated, and then this is their warm, the humid area. And then I'm feeding them worms to alternate it. Give them
Do
some of
you
these.
breed them?
I just got those guys. I traded in a joystick, a game joystick. The guy didn't want. I got the rack from him. I got the leopard geckos from him. So he sold me the rack for. I paid $500 for this rack.
Wow.
Yeah, missing some drawers. About. I believe there's missing. Yeah, 9 drawers. That's pretty much it.
Awesome.
All right, Bob. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Gorgeous.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's see.
Nate, when you first popped on and had the snake, it looked like you were hanging. He was sticking
Right.
straight up. Like, is he hanging himself?
She does like to get bolt upright as soon as she gets on the shoulders and go onto the
He
top
was
of the head.
straight
kinda
up,
hang
like,
out there.
wow.
Now, who is that? Oh, that's a red tail.
Her back
Yeah,
end looks
this is
so
my
different than
Colombian
her
boa
top end.
ofrenda.
Wow.
So this would be boa constrictor, imperator. These guys, this specific locality is the Colombian.
Very pretty.
Yeah, she's my sweetest baby.
And her tail's like a different color or different pattern?
Yeah, so as it gets progressively further down
That's
on some of these guys, it'll be a lot more red. That'll be on your boa constrictor. There are some of the boa constrictor imperator that have a very red, very noticeable difference in the tail. But you can see that hers gets to be quite the... Oops.
Yeah, it was very noticeable. I thought you had two snakes wrapped around you. That's
A lot of people will think that if they can see the, if you've got part of the body kind of obscured and you see the tail and you're like, oh, okay, so that's one snake. And then you see the front half of her here and you're like, that's a completely different animal.
That's like, wow.
Steve says that's BCI is the big ones.
Yep. Yeah, these guys can get up to, typically you're going to see around about 8 foot for a good healthy female. There's a lot of misconception about BCC and BCI that they're these gigantic animals, and they're really not. A good healthy, diet for these guys, good healthy feeding schedule. We'll probably see, at around about like 7 to 8 years old, getting into the 6 and 8 foot range, depending on if you've got a male or female. And they'll probably cap out at around about 9 feet, with some of the really large females getting up into the 10-foot range. And there has been a few that have gotten into the 11, 12, and I think 1 or 2 of them have actually gotten to 13 feet. So these guys are a very large growing snake, but they're not the real big ones. If you guys want to get a real big snake, then you'd want to go with something like a Burmese python or even some of the smaller growing reticulated pythons.
Aren't they like outlawed in places, like, or outlawed?
Yeah,
the one that's the
even
big thing
boas
in
in some
Florida?
areas can require special kinds of permitting or licensing or things
I
like
gotcha.
that. So it's always best to just kind of double check with your local law of what is and is not acceptable, and just try to follow that as best you can.
Steve says BCI definitely gets bigger than BCC, though, right?
It depends on localities. So there are some boa constrictor imperator localities that stay relatively small. There's also some boa constrictor imperators and both. So it just depends on your location. So like if you get one of the insular boa constrictor imperators, so like the Hog Island and Coron Island snakes, those are going to get to usually about 5 and 6 feet as adults. So about as big as she is now. They may get a little bit bigger, a little bit girthier, but they're going to stay relatively small. And then if you get up to like I want to say that the Guyanas are a larger growing boa constrictor. Peruvians, I think, might get a little bit bigger. Amazon's kind of a little bit of a dice roll there. Sometimes they get real big. Sometimes they stay relatively small. Oh, come on.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
So one of the things that I figured we would talk about today and why I have her out specifically is the way that constriction works. So as we have been hearing a couple of times is that these guys are boa constrictor. It's one of the few times that we actually use like the scientific name for the common name. It's not uncommon to hear these guys just referred to as boas when you're talking pet industry. But as far as, when someone says boa constrictor, that's the genus and species of these guys. And then you get your subspecies of imperator, constrictor. And then you've got like your, longicauda, and I want to say that there's another one, but the taxonomy on boas is a little bit of a crapshoot. because it changes every couple of years as they get more genetic information, and so then they've got to rework the phylogeny, and it's a bit of a mess.
Wow.
But yeah, there's a lot of misconceptions actually about how constriction works, and a lot of the things that we'll end up hearing when we're talking about constricting animals is things like asphyxiation or choking or strangling. And while strangling is probably a little bit closer, what they don't do is choke or asphyxiate things. So the main difference between those two is a lot of it comes down to the amount of pressure where it's applied and what that does to the body. So if we're asphyxiating something, that's going to take a lot longer than constricting it. And what happens, come on, these guys are very, very strong. What ends up happening is that if you're asphyxiating something, what you're doing is cutting off air supply. So if this animal were to wrap around my neck and squeeze down, relatively hard, she could potentially clamp off and close up some of my airways. And that would be definitely a problem. Now, fatality from that can take, and depending on what kind of animal you're asphyxiating like that or choking, it could take anywhere from like 2 to 3 minutes. So that's a long time if you're trying to procure an animal that you're wanting to eat and you don't have any functional limbs. These guys do have vestigial legs, but they don't do anything, and they're not going to really aid in taking anything down. And especially not when that animal is a lot of the time a lot bigger than your own head. That can be quite the feat to undertake of, taking down something like a monkey or a sloth. Really small micro deer, things like that can be quite cantankerous if you grab a hold of them unexpectedly and try to pin them down. And these guys will even eat reptiles. And the thing with reptiles is that if you try to asphyxiate a snake or a lizard or an alligator or a turtle, you're going to be there for a while. Their bodies are incredibly efficient at using the oxygen that they have, so it doesn't take much oxygen in their blood system to keep them up and going. So a lot of the time when you see people using things to euthanize snakes or other reptiles like a CO2 chamber, it's actually it's a really inhumane way to do it because of how long it can take. So these guys can hold their breath for quite a while, and even when they're not holding their breath, it doesn't take much to keep a snake's body going. So it can be sometimes 30, 40 minutes for that animal to asphyxiate due to a lack of air. So what constriction is that these animals will use this incredibly muscular body. They'll grab a hold of something and start spinning coils around it, and then they start applying an immense amount of pressure. And as you guys can kind of see, all these lines, these grooves that you can see running laterally down her body, up and down the length, those are the separations of different muscle groups. So these guys are a very, very strong, very muscular animal, and they use those muscles to great efficiency when dispatching prey. And so what they're typically doing is aiming to put coils around the trunk of the body or the main body cavity where most of the organs are, lungs, heart, the majority of your pulmonary system is in there. And they apply extreme amounts of pressure. For anyone that has ever done any kind of like high speed, like fair rides or anything where you're getting whipped around, or if you change altitude rapidly, and you'll notice, or even talk to people that have done like maybe Air Force services where they've been in fighter jets, and they'll talk about G-forces and the sudden changes in pressure in your body and what effect that has on you. When you apply sudden changes to pressure like that in your body, it can make your brain and your organs do some really crazy stuff. So applying that much additional pressure onto your body that it's not used to so quickly will oftentimes cause the fluids and everything in your body to just halt. So circulatory system is now under an immense amount of strain. A lot of the time it can completely stop the heart within seconds, which then that additional pressure of that blood not being able to move in the brain starts to cause that brain to burn through its oxygen supply of what it has in it. And you start to see things like fainting, passing out, or just general wooziness if you're being constricted within, less than a minute. And it can be very, very frightening to get quite a squeeze like that put on you. So what we're typically seeing with these guys when they're constricting, and especially with boa constrictors, and that's why they have the name boa constrictors, because they're so specialized in this, is that they use their entire body, if need be, to wrap around an animal and just really apply that force to it. With that pressure, we can see things like the heart sometimes pumps so hard, especially if the animal starts to panic as it's getting grabbed and wrapped up. That heart beating super fast like that is already going to cause physiological issues for whatever is being grabbed. And then you apply an immediate immense amount of pressure on it. That can cause heart stoppage or even sometimes organ rupturing because of that immense pressure change.
Wow.
So these guys are dispatching things like, or even anacondas, which are a type of boa, can take down things like caiman, which are another reptile that typically would be able to last a long time without air, but they're able to grab a hold of those guys, squeeze down on them pretty good, and have that thing completely and totally dispatched and ready to eat within a matter of a couple of seconds. So that's one of the biggest misconceptions, is that they're choking or that they're cutting off air supply alone.
Wow.
How big is that snake now?
So at this point, I want to say that she's probably about 5 feet. So she's closing in on max length. She's slowly growing. One of the things that we see that's a really prominent problem with these guys is what we call power feeding. And that's giving them really heavy meals really consistently. And while you get really fast growth out of them when you do that, it also has a tendency to make them very overweight. And speaking of constriction, when they get overweight, because of the way that their internal anatomy is, when you have a snake that gets too obese like that has too much fat in its body, it causes compression on all of the organs, which causes them to not work as well. You can end up with respiratory issues because of they only have one functioning lung. And so any kind of additional pressure on that doesn't need to be, and especially so frequently if it's an issue of like obesity, then you'll start to see respiratory issues and other pulmonary issues, circulatory issues. It's a whole systematic issue. And with these guys, it's really, really, really difficult to get them to shed weight. Even though they are a very active snake, when handling them and when taking them out of the enclosure, a lot of the time, because they're a primarily ambush predator, they're going to just kind of hang out and not try to move very much if they don't have to. They'll move to get from a cooler spot to a warmer spot, or to get in or out of the light, or to get to or from water. But more often than not, they're just going to probably sit and kind of wait for something to come by so that way they can grab it. So I give her a very varied diet where she gets everything from small mice to large rats, different kinds of birds, quail, chicken, working on getting a source for ducks and turkey. And when she gets a little bit bigger, we'll start working our way towards rabbit.
Wow.
Those are frozen thawed.
Yeah, so all the animals that I have are on frozen thawed. So everything is bred and raised specifically to be food, and it's then put down. Last weekend, I actually processed a bunch of quail down from a local breeder myself, so that I could get those guys into the freezer and have them frozen for a couple of months. So that way any kind of internal parasites or anything nasty in there is nice and gone before we offer them to the snakes here.
You did like a little shorts or a reel or something I just saw about the variety of things you could feed. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, the previous time that I was on here with you guys, we were talking a good bit about nutrition and the importance of a varied diet. And that's something that anytime somebody asks me, well, what do you feed your snakes and how often and, why and all of this, variation in the diet is going to be really important because then you're making sure that you can offer a larger meal that breaks down much faster and offers more nutrients. Or if you just need to give them a little bit of extra fat in their diet, you can offer that. You can really control what's going into your animal and limit the amount of like supplements that you have to use, or having any kind of deficiencies in the diet. So that's always really nice to be able to get really specific in how these guys are absorbing nutrients and what it is that they're taking in.
So they're not specifically trying to, like when they ambush something, they're not specifically trying to grab it by its face or its mouth so that it can't bite. They're going right for the body so they can ramp.
Yeah, so what they'll do is when you're aiming with your face, the ideal place to grab something. So like, let's say that another snake was going to try to eat her. What it would want to do, because she does have some pretty gnarly chompers in there. It's not enough to do a whole lot of damage, but when you're living in, especially the conditions that these guys are living in, very warm, very humid areas, infection and things like that can set in immediately. So you really don't want to get injured if you don't have to. And that's what it comes down to for most animals, is that even something my size, a predator my size, coming up to a snake like this, where the predator would be much larger and she's much smaller, all it takes is for her to post up and show that animal that she's really not in the mood to have any kind of altercation and take a couple of shots at him. And more than likely, they're going to back down, because even that little cut on the nose, or if they get, like a large cat or something like that in the eye, an animal that relies very heavily on their eyesight, that could potentially be a lifelong problem, and could very potentially be a life-ending issue from something way, way smaller, multiple times smaller than the predator that was going after this poor little baby in the first place. But what you want to do ideally when you're grabbing prey, and especially if you don't have any limbs and you don't have a very strong bite force that is able to, crush bone or separate spinal column or anything like that, to super quickly dispatch your prey, is you want to get a hold of it around about the head. So ideally you would grab it somewhere around the neck or the head to limit mobility of that animal turning around and biting you, thus giving you a potentially fatal injury. And then it also gives you a little bit more control, and it makes it much easier to aim where you're throwing coils, because you're going to have to act super fast and really start wrapping that thing up. What? You don't like when I talk about you getting chomped off by a big cat? I know. I wouldn't let that happen to you.
What you talking about?
Right? She's like, "You should be bringing no damn cat in here."
Wow, I can't believe how muscular.
Yeah. So yeah, all of these, you can see there's a big muscle group here on the dorsal side. There's another large grouping of muscles here on the lateral side. And then even in the ventral side, she has got a nice grouping of ventral muscles. Very interestingly, a lot of these muscles do more than just help them constrict. They also help them move. So these guys can do what's called rectilinear motion, which is where they're basically using a combination of their ribs as a physical structure or scaffolding to kind of aid in the movement of all these different muscles that are just layered on top of each other in different strands and combinations that all fire off in different sequences to be able to lift these turn it this way, there we go, these very wide, broad ventral scales, which we call scutes. So these will lift up off of the ground, move forward, press down into the ground all across the body, and help move her forward in a straight line extremely quietly. So if she needs to sneak up on something that's really skittish, like a rodent or even a monkey that just hasn't happened to notice that she's there, maybe a baby animal like a baby capybara or something like that, she's able to absolute silence sneak up on something and just nail it if she has to. And these guys punch really hard.
Now, will she ever get big enough that you won't take her out alone?
Probably not. So typically the general rule of thumb, and it varies a bit from person to person, is that once you hit around about 6 feet plus, that animal is more likely to be able to cause some pretty serious damage to you if it's a large constrictor. If you have, let's say, a bull snake that is reaching the 7 foot mark, that animal is very narrow. It's not adapted to constrict the same way that she is. They don't have the same mobility of the spine to be able to do a tight enough coil. They can't really do any damage to you. So like something like that would be fine. But when you're dealing with large, heavy-bodied constrictors, most people, the recommendation is about 6-7 foot is when you want to start making sure that at the very least that there is someone in the house that if need be you can slam on a door or do something to get somebody's attention to immediately get assistance if this animal is somehow trying to incapacitate you. And typically what we see when that happens, it's not an issue of this animal being like, it's finally my time to wrap around this dude's neck and squeeze down and get him. It's that they think that they're falling. And that could be partially eliminated with a good relationship with your animal. She is very confident in me holding her, so I can do all sorts of kooky, crazy stuff that I shouldn't do. And she's pretty fine with it for the most part. But the moment that she thinks that she's falling, she is going to wrap part of her body around whatever she can get a hold of and really squeeze down because she doesn't want to fall. And so typically what we see is that people are handling their snakes around the neck, or around the atlas, which is the section where your neck and your skull meet, or just anywhere along the cervical vertebra. You can have anything from the pressure on the major arteries on the side of your neck can be compressed if they squeeze down too hard, which is just like getting constricted, just not around the body cavity. Cuts off circulation. You can pass out and fall down and potentially get a secondary injury just from falling, or the animal might not realize that it's no longer up in the air and will continue to squeeze, and then you could asphyxiate or be constricted. If you get things, the large snakes like green anacondas and the large mainland reticulated pythons, those guys can constrict a human being. But typically it's what we end up seeing is that it's an accidental thing where the person has this very large snake around their neck or around their throat. The snake starts to slip a little bit, it panics a bit, and it really holds down on the neck because it doesn't at that point understand what our anatomy is and how fragile we can be. All it's thinking of is, oh boy, I'm going to fall. I need to correct myself. And they squeeze down.
Wow.
So that's even like for them to go around a neck is not something they would do when they're trying to constrict something.
Yeah, I mean, they might if they have to. So like if we end up with weird situations like in some parts of Indonesia where those reticulated pythons are, first of all, very large. Not a lot of the time, but they have the potential to get over 20 feet long. And the people that live out there are relatively small framed. They're not very large. And a lot of the time it's people that are working in things like palm plantations where they're maintaining some sort of farmland in rural areas. And so these large snakes, because their habitat's being encroached on, they get increasingly used to humans. And when someone that's very young or very small or very old and frail is out there working on some kind of crop or something like that, they're completely alone and by themselves. That animal, the snake is able to see that, there's nothing else around. There's no other, essentially we're just a large monkey to them. And they eat those all the time. So they have a pretty good idea of, essentially I'm going to try to go for the face neck area and then try to get the arms in there, but I can always go for the neck. So they'll wrap around whatever they can. A lot of smaller constrictors, like a lot of smaller pythons, like ball pythons and even blood pythons, will use a pretty good portion of just the first third of their body. So mostly neck to constrict animals because they're taking down smaller stuff. When you get into these larger constrictors that are much more not uniform in width or build, but you can see that she's a lot more athletically built than something like a ball python or a blood python, which is going to have a significant girth to the lower sections of their body. They will use more of their body, so they'll wrap up the neck, the body cavity, the legs, the arms, whatever it is that they can get wrapped around. They will wrap around it and they will squeeze down as hard as they can for dear life, because it could be the difference of not only just getting a meal or not, but also retaliation from the animal that they just grabbed a hold of. Look at you go.
And all of that's instinct. It doesn't have to be learned or taught or, wow.
There is a bit of learning to it. So some animals will learn, like if I feed her something that's too cool to the touch, she won't bother to wrap it up really, or she won't wrap it for very long. She'll basically just rip it out of the tongs and then start eating it. And the same goes for a lot of my constricting colubrids that I have, where they'll grab a hold of something, realize that it's not body temperature for what they're smelling, and then they just kind of casually start to eat it. Versus if it's something that's larger, that's much warmer or closer to the body temperature of like a rat or a bird that I'm giving them, they will actively wrap around it and try to constrict it and do their normal. Because these guys are quite a bit smarter than a lot of people give them credit for. There's a lot more going on in that little brain than a lot of people think. And they're a lot of the time, more often than not, most snakes are just smart enough to get themselves into trouble. But there are some that are exceptionally intelligent. False water cobras and reticulated pythons are one of those that they are smart enough to get themselves in and out of trouble and just about everything in between. So they're one of those animals that when keeping them in captivity, that's an important thing to remember, is that this is a very intelligent predator and that you have to keep their mind engaged. So enrichment is a huge part of keeping really intelligent predators like that.
Trash Cat, thank you for the super sticker. Appreciate
Oh,
it.
very nice.
Yeah, you're pretty smart too.
Are all of your snakes constrictors?
Almost. So I have mostly constrictors. I have the Colombian boa here, so she's definitely a constrictor. I've got the blood python back there, and I think she's taking a nap because she ate yesterday, so she's pretty tired. She was buried pretty good yesterday. Ball python, that's a constrictor. My Great Basin gopher snakes will kind of mix it up a little bit. It depends on what they're eating. If they're eating something that's much smaller and that they can kind of get more of a read on as being less likely to put up a fight, they're going to be more likely to just brute force it and just start eating as soon as they get a hold of it. If it's something that's a little bit bigger and I move it around like it's a little bit more lively, then they will more than likely wrap it up and give it a pretty good squeeze. They're not as efficient at constricting as something like a boa constrictor or a python, because of the way that their musculature is set up and their a lot of their internal anatomy. They're not able to wrap as tightly around an animal as something like a boa constrictor, and the musculature that they have isn't quite strong enough to generate a strong enough force to where they can take down as varied a group as larger, heavier bodied constrictors. And then my false water cobra, she kind of bounces back and forth between using the venom that she has, or she will just kind of brute force it. So it just kind of depends on what she's got a hold of. If it puts up a fight, then she'll really make an effort to get her mouth up and over it and hook those back teeth in to start delivering some of that venom and hope that that starts to help tire the animal out and cause a little bit of havoc in there, because their venom's not extremely potent. But it will help to break down some sort of internal structures, like mess with the blood, cause clotting or a lack of clotting, which can be a problem, because if you have too much of one or not enough, that very careful balance that we call homeostasis in the body doesn't function like it's supposed to, and we can see all sorts of stuff like organ failure and things like that. But more often than not, she'll just brute force it and just overwhelm it by typically grabbing the head, neck, or face area.
Aish.
Sometimes they won't whip it, but they will make a concerted effort to shift it out of the way, where that if it was a live animal, because she's doing this with something that's frozen thawed, so it's not alive and kicking, but if it were, they're basically looking to take that animal off balance to where they can then potentially put part of their body on top of it to help kind of subdue it a little bit as they start swallowing.
Wow. I'm not sure I knew you had a gopher snake. I guess I've forgotten it.
Yeah, I've got 3 of them. I've got 2 real young ones that are real skittish. All these guys ate yesterday, and I know that she is confident enough to. You want kisses? That's very nice. She's confident enough to be able to handle long-term handling after a meal. Here in a minute, we'll actually get Bullwinkle too, because he's kind of peeking out with a little bit of curiosity because I'm standing here and talking. But I think he might be fine to come out for a bit as well. Typically, I'll give these guys about 48 hours before I handle them after a super heavy meal. Everyone ate relatively light yesterday. Come on, you get up there.
Anybody have any other questions about this snake or?
No, that's pretty interesting, though. Let me tell you.
Yeah, these are a super fascinating animal. I mean, all snakes are, but there's some specific species. I definitely see why some people specialize in a particular species or genus, because some of these guys are just really strange and really bizarre in the way that they act and interact with their environment and with their prey and things like that.
Right. The reason I said that about the gopher snake is my gopher snake has become my favorite recently.
Mm-hmm. They're a very personable species. Here, let's get you put back in.
She's just so smart and so pretty. How often does he feed his snakes? I don't think he said, Bunny.
Don't you dare come over that thing. Nope, stay in there. There we go.
That's a good question, though. It's such a variety. I don't know if there's a set time, or we'll find out.
All right, sir, you won't come out.
That might be a former snake keeper up there on the wall. I don't know.
All right, buddy, come on. Come on, buddy. Yeah, I know. Okay.
And Susie, if you or anybody needs to go because we got started late, that just do what you got to do.
So this is the oldest and largest Pituophis that I have, and these guys are all Pituophis catenifer deserticola, the Great Basin gopher snakes.
Bunny asked if how often does he feed his snakes?
So a lot of it depends on what animal it is. So for the false water cobra, she's still relatively young. Her metabolism is just lightning fast. So she eats sometimes 2 times a week if I give her a real light meal. Yesterday I gave her a quail, so that's a little bit of a heavier meal for her. So she'll probably skip. Usually I feed on Wednesdays. So she'll skip her Sunday feeding. And probably we'll see what she's looking like come Wednesday. And see if she's back in rotation for getting food. This guy eats about once a week. So colubrids and other similar snakes like this that are super active will usually eat about once a week, depending on the size of the meal that you're giving them and what it is. So he got, what did you get yesterday? You got a mouse. You got a small mouse, so you're all good to go for next week. So he'll eat weekly most of the time. If I give him a real heavy meal, like a larger rat or something real heavy, then I'll skip a week just to let him have time to break that down. But usually on the more frequent side, you're looking at sometimes 2 times a week. Average for like something like a small or lightly built colubrid, like Great Basin gophers, bull snakes, corn snakes, king snakes. Typically, you're going to see around about weekly. For larger, heavy-bodied constrictors like the boa constrictor, blood python, and ball python, when they're up to about a year old, I like to feed weekly. And then once they hit about 2 is when I start working them to, I'll do like a week, 2 weeks of feeding. So they'll eat 2 weeks in a row, and then I'll skip a week, and then they'll do 2 more, and then they'll skip 3, and then they'll eat 2 or 3 in a row. And then, so I just kind of varied a little bit like that. and just kind of stagger their feedings. And it mostly just depends on how big they are and what they can eat. If I can get them on birds, which are a lot of the time a much lighter meal as far as it breaks down really quickly and they're able to absorb everything in there pretty fast, then I can feed them more frequently. If I'm giving them something like a mammal, so like a mouse or a rat, depending on the size of the animal and the size of the feeder, a lot of the time I'll end up having a feed cycle between so that they have time to fully break that down and absorb as much as they can, because that's typically a lot higher of a fat content.
What is I'm all over the place, but random thoughts. What is like the price difference, or is there a difference between, say, mice and birds?
It depends on what you're getting. Chicken is definitely pretty close. It's a little bit more expensive, but typically it's not going to be your staple feeder. You can go through, and it's usually not super hard to find chicken, and especially chicks, that you can buy in bulk from a local breeder. And even now in more developed areas, or more urban areas, there's people that have like backyard chicken farms that, they may be producing an overabundance of eggs and chicks that you could probably, take home, hatch them out yourself, process them down. Granted that is a difficult process. Do not get me wrong. I mean, dispatching, food animals for yourself, it takes a little bit of an iron gut to do that, because it can be difficult to do. But I grew up in a more rural area, so that was just kind of the upbringing of you process your own food every now and again. But I'll buy, usually through Rodent Pro is got pretty good deals, because you can buy in bulk through them. I like to order during the winter time, and then I'll get 1 or 2 bags of their chicken chicks. I think I get the smallest ones that they have, just because it's a quick light meal for these guys. I'll usually get their quail. Quail tend to be a lot more expensive. The benefit to ordering quail once in a while, if you have smaller snakes, like with my false water cobra, because she's about this big around, but she's only probably about this long. Well, maybe a little bit shorter than that. There we go. So she's about as long as my torso. So she's not nearly up to the size where she can handle large, like a chicken chick yet, but she can handle a quail chick because they're so much smaller. You just wiggle woman, man. Can you slow down? I'm trying to keep up with you. There you go. Get comfortable. Relax.
I'm trying to think. Great Basin. I'm not good with geography. Mine is a San Diego. So how does that relate to geographically?
So these guys are going to be in a similar environment, typically very dry, either grasslands or plains area. These guys are found from, southern Alberta, and like sometimes the absolute easternmost reaches of like British Columbia, all the way down into a good portion of Utah, western or eastern Washington, central Washington, northwestern to central Idaho, and then down into Utah area. And that's about, I think, where you start to see them kind of branching off into either geographically they'll be locked in where there's like a mountain range or something like that prevents them from going any further without assistance, or you'll start to see like going into the Arizonas, the Sonorans, and then San Diegos and things like that. So these guys are a little bit all over the place. These guys have a very wide distribution. They're also very easy to mistake for the Pacific gopher, which is the Pituophis catenifer. Those guys are a little bit more southwestern Washington state. I think they then go down to most of the coastline area, or pretty close to the coastline of like Oregon, of western Oregon and northwestern California, before you start to get into like the San Diegos and things like that. Come on, buddy. Here, get up there. Been driving me nuts doing all that. Get up there.
So they brumate, I guess, that far north.
Yeah, these guys have a really wide distribution. They're very, very, very hardy species. These guys can take quite the range of temperatures and be totally fine. So, like, if it gets really cold in this room, he doesn't care. He'll be roaming around as long as he's got light that he can go bask under for a little bit. He's totally fine. If it gets really hot, they'll typically spend a little bit more time kind of hanging out somewhere where it's more shady or a little bit cooler. They don't like to get excessively warm, but they will thrive in pretty varied set of environments geographically, and like from dry pine forests all the way up into like low grassland areas, up into the mountains a little bit. Not super high up into the mountains, but they'll get a little ways up there. Grassland areas they like. Sometimes straight up desert, highland deserts they'll hang out in. And these guys will eat anything from small birds to lizards to, I'm sure in the wild as very small little babies, they're probably eating some invertebrates, but most of their diet tends to be small vertebrates.
I had a couple of brown anoles in the habitat that mine is in, and I left them in there when I put her in. And if they zip past her, she notices them and looks real fast, but she doesn't pursue them at all.
Yeah, and I think for the most part, it just kind of depends. Like if they're nice and fired up and warm in the wild, a slower moving lizard or even one that's just not being particularly mindful. And I think for the most part, they're going to go after those as young. So where's Rocky? She pull out one of the smaller ones. We'll get Bullwinkle put back here and we'll look at one of the smaller guys. Because this will be a little bit closer to the size that they're going to be eating a lot of real small animals like lizards and possibly even small snakes. Natasha, you're looking awful confident. You want to come out? Hang for a minute. Walks there. There we go. This out of the way. Get this out of the way. I know I'm going to come in and bug you. Come in and bug you. Nope, you're okay. You're fine. Be a big girl. Be a big girl. There you go. Come here. Oh, come on. Come on.
I think reptile keepers are like fish keepers. We all talk to our animals.
Yeah, these guys don't have super great hearing. They can hear a little bit. Ooh, there we go. So I usually try to talk to them while I'm handling them just so that way they get used to whatever frequencies they can hear of my voice. So that way it becomes kind of just a normal thing for them. And then they'll calm down pretty quick. So this is about the size where we're going to see them eating things like small skinks, maybe the occasional frog or something like that if they're near a body of water. Just kind of whatever they can get a hold of. Really, really small birds if they're getting up into trees, or if there's real small ground nesting birds in the area, they might take a couple of those. A lot of there you go. Calm down. You're fine. You get so spastic. I know. You get so excited. Here you go. They'll eat a lot of baby rodents, so like pinky mice, pinky rats, baby voles or moles or whatever it is that they can get down into the burrow of and grab a hold of a baby and then start taking off before mama comes back and gets upset with them. Come on, get up there. So not a very large snake starting off, and she's grown significantly since I've gotten her. So these guys are not super big. And especially when they're brand new, they're really teeny tiny. They're just itty bitty little things. But they grow at a pretty good pace. And then once they get up to a little bit bigger than Rocky, who we'll pull out here in a second. I think she is under her hide, because I don't see her meandering about. Once they get a little bit bigger than this is when they'll start really specializing more in small rodents and things like that.
Sam's been posting your links. Do you have a set schedule that you do your live streams by?
No, I've been going through the process of getting all my certification done to become a master herpetologist. So once I have that finished, I'll be able to do the live streams a little bit more frequently. And then I'll start working on getting some sort of a schedule down and maybe have a couple of like repeat talking points. So that way there's plenty of access to be able to get some certain kinds of information that would more than likely pertain more so to keeping these guys in captivity than from just a purely herpetological standpoint, go into more of the herpetoculture. But life has just been life in between work, holidays, and everything else in between.
I understand.
Yeah, right now I'm just trying to work on getting it's winter time, so there's not a whole lot of field work that I'm doing, which is where I get a lot of good footage, or if I've got a good enough signal, then I like to kind of set up and do a live stream from out in the field if I can. And with it being winter time, there's not a whole lot that's out. I did manage to get some really good footage of a really cool newt that is native to this area, and he was very, very large, so that was really cool. So I'll be getting that edited down and posted here in the next couple of days. But other than that, I mean, as far as like the stuff that I specialize in, snakes and some other reptiles, there's just not a whole lot to be able to do during this time of year because it's just so cold. There you go, girly. There you go. But as we get into spring, should see a lot more posting going on because I'll be a lot more active out in the field. And here pretty soon, I'm going to see if I can get a trip down to southeastern Oregon, just above the Northern California state line, and see what kind of stuff is down there for me to get into. Got a friend down there that I'm going to go see. So it'll be a nice little road trip. That'll probably get some good content there. And let's see if Rocky's right there. Hi. Let me stretch a little thing from here. Yeah, don't give me that attitude. Don't you give me that attitude. So this is a slightly older snake of the same genus and species. This is also Pituophis catenifer deserticola. This is a slightly different locality, so she's got a little bit of a different pattern, but for the most part, it's pretty much the same. There's some minute details that change as you kind of go from their western more range up to the eastern section. And I'm sure that once you start getting south in their range too, that there's probably a little bit more variation going that direction as well, which is really interesting. But one of the things that seems to be, and I'll have to try to get more more notes on this, is that the closer proximity that they live to rattlesnakes, the more likely they are to have these really nicely defined diamond patterns on their back.
Really?
And then as you get a little bit further away from a lot of the prevalent rattlesnake populations is when you start to see that pattern become a little bit less detailed. So I'm working on getting some more data from more populations of these guys. So far, the best diamond patterns that I've been seeing, like her, have come from central Washington. So like Yakima in the center of the state and the surrounding areas seem to have a lot of diamond patterning going on, which is really nice.
Do you think that's a true mimicry then, or?
I think that it's kind of part of the trying to remember what specific kind of mimicry that is. I want to say that that's Batesian.
Batesian, yeah.
I think Batesian is the visual mimicry, and then I can't remember the name of the other one that's behavioral. But yeah, I think that the natural selection has kind of pressured these guys that the closer that you live to rattlesnakes, the more you better look like one if you want to get left alone for the most part. There are still some animals that just actively prey on rattlesnakes as well, and so to them it makes no difference. But for the ones that don't,
Right.
which is going to be probably the majority of predators, the more you look like a rattlesnake and act like one and sound like one, the better your chances are of getting to kind of scoot away from it without having to give off too much of a display and waste too much energy.
Are you planning to breed those?
Yeah, once these guys are all kind of at breeding age and size, I hope to get some of these guys started up just to kind of see, if there's any kind of caveat to working with these guys. A lot of North American colubrids you don't have to brumate, which tends to work out pretty nicely. So I probably won't breed these guys super frequently. It'll probably be like a clutch or two every 2 to 3 years, just so that way I'm not wearing these guys down and out. But I'd like to be able to produce a couple of them at least and keep these guys going.
Yeah.
You gonna be good, or are you gonna take a shot at me? Because you look like you're gonna take a shot at me. I see you. You're not gonna do nothing. You're not gonna hurt me if you do that, but you're gonna upset yourself because you're gonna not get any food out of it, and you're gonna waste a bunch of energy doing all that. So you better just relax a little bit. There you go. Yeah, these guys make a really good pet. They're very personable. They have a lot of personality, very active, very curious and inquisitive. They settle down pretty well. She tends to have a little bit more of an attitude when I'm trying to get her out of the enclosure, and a lot of it comes down to the fact that she just really loves food. So anytime that enclosure opens up, her first and foremost priority is, are you going to feed me? And then after a couple of seconds of not smelling food or seeing food, then she's like, oh, Jesus Christ, are you going to pick me up, dude? All right, whatever. And then she'll just kind of relinquish herself to the fact that she's going to be picked up and handled for a little bit.
I get that too from my San Diego, and because of that, I don't handle her as much as I'd like to. But I need to stop doing that. She's never bitten me yet.
This one, she has gotten a hold of my finger before, thinking that I had something for her to eat when I went to pick her up. And it's really funny when they grab a hold of something, and I know that a lot of other snakes will do this as well. When they get a hold of something that they realize is either putting up too much of a fight or too much resistance, and they can't overwhelm it immediately, they're pretty prone to let go and be like, okay, nope, backing up because I don't want any part of that, because they don't want that retaliation. So as soon as she got a hold of my finger and realized that it wasn't something for her to start nomming down on, she was immediately let go and started pulling back into her hiding area. Like, I'm not about to take the wrath for that one.
Anybody have any questions or comments about these guys? Susie had to leave us a little bit earlier, one of the panel members. So she said to tell you thank you.
Oh, right on. Much appreciated. I always appreciate when you guys reach out and want to have me on here, because I love to share all the information that I've been gathering over the years on these guys of doing independent field work and research on them. There's your lid. There we go. We'll get her all closed up here so she can relax and digest her little meal. Get you some new locks.
Sam says, are you on Morph Market?
Not yet. So I haven't started really producing anything. My primary thing with snakes is not to breed them. And even when I start breeding these guys, it won't be for a profit thing. It's mostly just going to be so that way I can, constantly have some without having to go and buy new animals and retrain them and do all of that. My main thing with these guys is to just enjoy them for the most part. I research them. I take a lot of notes on, weird behaviors that I notice with them. Like with Ofrenda back there, the Colombian boa, a lot of the time, if I take her out of her enclosure for like 15 minutes or less and I put her back in, like if I've got to just go in there and do a spot clean, she will then proceed to go find an area where she can bury herself for a couple of days because she's pouting because she didn't get to be out as long as she wanted to. So I figured out that she's got about a minimum of about 20 minutes. 15, 20 minutes is the least amount of time that I can have her out before she starts to really be resistant to going back into the enclosure. She'll just kind of snake back up on herself, climb up my arm, get onto my shoulder, just refuses to go back in there and is just a general nuisance. And then once I do get her back down in there, she'll hide away for a couple of days and pout because she's upset.
I have a ball python that likes to come out every time I go in the reptile room, and she hates to go back in. I mean, she'll keep trying to get out when I'm putting her in. So.
Yeah, and that's one of the things too when people say that snakes don't have emotions to begin with. That always is one thing that I'm like, you've never worked with them then, or you haven't worked with them for very long or very extensively. And when they say that they don't, that they're incapable of showing affection. I mean, as far as we understand affection from like a cat or a dog or from a human perspective, yeah, it's not gonna come off that way. But when you've got an animal that trusts you so completely that you can wrap your hand fully around their head and you're getting absolutely no defensive or any kind of like stress reaction from that, and they actively seek to come out and sit with you when you take them out of their enclosure, I mean, that's probably about as close to affection as you're going to get from an animal that, it's not domesticated. We haven't been breeding and raising these guys in captivity long enough for them to be domesticated. They're still very much on the wild side of the pet trade. So it's interesting to watch the kind of bond that you can build with these guys.
Definitely. Well, I think we probably reached a good place to wind it up. Certainly appreciate it. Lots of great information. I always love seeing the snakes.
Yeah, anytime you guys have openings, let me know. I'll see what I've got on the schedule and see if I can get it in, because I love coming on here and sharing everything that I can, and kind of the same thing that I do with my own live streams of just try to pick a more centralized topic to really delve deep into and get as much information on it as possible out to everyone in a way that's really palatable. One of the things that I've been working on the last couple of days has been limbless locomotion, and boy howdy is that a lot to go into. There's everything from physics to muscular anatomy.
I don't know that I've ever heard anyone speak on constriction, so that was fascinating.
Yeah, a lot of people, and I get asked even by people that know me personally, that aren't, like, they know how to take care of their animals, they know how to do, the stuff to keep their animals happy, healthy, and alive, but the more technical side of it, they're like, I have no clue how constriction works. Like, what are they doing? And all that kind of stuff is my whole shtick of like, what are they, if they're doing something that's weird, or just how they work, so that way I can better understand things like certain kinds of behaviors of like I know that if I have one of my heavier constrictors out and they're on the back of my neck and I feel them squeeze down, they're not trying to choke me. It's just that they think that they're falling, and that's the only way that they have to keep themselves upright. If it was a lizard, I'd be getting the ever-living life clawed out of me. So that makes life a little bit easier, where it's like, just keep them off of the neck, like keep them on the shoulder and arms, and you're good to go.
Thank you for the super sticker, Patty. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. Thank you. If you're here, hello. She is here. She was here. All right. Thank you so much, Nate, and I'll definitely be getting with you again at some point. I hate to come on you too often, but uh, people really love to go back and watch um, the replay. I noticed
Yeah.
that. That's where I get comments and a lot of interaction from that. So.
Yeah, definitely. Anytime that you guys are looking to do snake specific stuff, especially as I get all the way through this certification course, like we're going through what's called Lis Amphibia, so that's all the amphibians. I'll have a whole other wealth of information of things that I can probably drone on for hours about.
Oh wow! Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right. Thank you so much, sir. Another fascinating hour, or a little more maybe, with you, and we really appreciate it and enjoy it.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. I appreciate it as well.
All right. Good night. Thank you.
Y'all have a good night.
Thank you, everybody in the chat. And thank you, mods.
Thanks everyone for watching.